Hi, this is Jeremy Schoonmaker with the HP Channel MPS group. Today, I want to talk to you about job storage and the various options that are available in the embedded web server around that. I'll be using the HP LaserJet Flow M527, and I'm running on FutureSmart 4.7. Now, to access this, you need to be in the web server. You can't do this from the front panel. So you'll need to access the web server and sign in as the administrator. Then you go to the Security tab and click Protect Stored Data. Once there, you scroll to the bottom, and there's an area called Manage Stored Jobs, and this is where you'll see all the options. Now, the first is to allow jobs to be stored at all. This is on by default on any enterprise class device, so you can do job storage. But if you want to just delete this or turn this off, then people won't be able to store jobs anymore. You don't have to worry about anything else. If you're going to allow job storage, there's some other options here. The first is requiring all pins to be 4 digits. Now, in the driver enforces this already for printing, and so you don't really have to worry about this for printing. But if you're doing scan to job storage, unless you have this checked, your pin codes can be fewer than 4 digits. The next two options are requiring the jobs themselves to be pin protected, either from scan to job storage or from printing in the driver. If these are not checked, then users can send these over unprotected. If these are checked, then they will have to pin protect them. If you are implementing job storage after the fact, when users have already been using this for some time, you might have leftover stored jobs that may not be pin protected. And if that's what your policy is, then you could do two things. Number one is you could cancel all jobs without pin protection, or you could add a pin code to all the existing jobs. So either way, you're going to get rid of any device or any job that doesn't have a pin protection on it. Couple other basic settings here. Job sort order. By default, we do it by job name alphabetically, but you can change it to date if you want. There's also a default folder that will do scan to job storage to, and that's called Untitled. If you want to change the name there, you can. Then I'm going to jump to the bottom and talk about this, behavior when users are authenticated. If users sign into the front panel, you can turn this to assist users to their job. It's default by default, but you can assist users to their jobs. And that can either be for convenience, right? They've logged in, so they don't have to do the extra click of finding their stored jobs. Or it can be from a security perspective, which is if a user signed in, they should only be able to look at their jobs anyway. So it's going to take them directly to their jobs. Now, the next couple settings have to do with something called temporary jobs versus standard stored jobs. Temporary stored jobs include, and this says it right here, includes personal jobs, quick copy, and proof and hold jobs. And if you've seen the print driver, you'll be familiar with those three. So those are all considered temporary and not permanent. They usually are deleted when you're done with them, whereas stored jobs, or standard stored jobs, stay on the device kind of forever until you intentionally delete them. Just releasing them doesn't delete them. And so that's considered a standard stored job. So knowing that, here's these settings. Retains temporary jobs after reboot. By default, we don't do it. We delete them during a reboot because they're stored in memory. So you can turn these on to personal jobs only, being stored through a reboot, or all temporary jobs. And this will write all those to the hard drive when it's going through a shutdown process. We can also choose how long these are stored. Now you see it's off by default, which means they can be stored kind of indefinitely without the device automatically deleting them. But if we want the printer to automatically delete them, we can choose a time frame, 30 minutes, an hour, 4 hours, a week, 4 weeks, whatever you want. And after that amount of time, it will delete those jobs automatically. And so there's a separate drop-down for temporary stored jobs and then standard stored jobs. Now the last thing, and I think this is one of the most important things, is this temporary job storage limit. Temporary jobs, we have a storage limit on those. Again, those are stored generally on memory, so we want to limit the number they are. And by default, it's at 32, okay? 32 jobs. Now, if you're using a lot of pin printing, that's probably not enough. So you might want to up this to 100, or you can even up it up to 300 jobs. If you don't, there's a first in, first out sort of idea. So when the 33rd job is printed, then the first job that was printed will be deleted. So the first job that was sent into the queue will be the first job taken out when it's out of space. So you may not want to change that. Make sure to click Apply to make sure to apply those settings. Now, there's a couple other things that you might want to look at in the access control area. Access control defines who has access to what application. So we can, for print from job storage, we can completely lock out either guests or certain types of users from using the job storage application. If they tried to access the application, they'd have to enter a PIN code. There's a couple other things here. There's a stored faxes area. You can store faxes, and that will end up being one of the folders. If you want to, you can lock access to that. So if you have a specific person you want to release stored faxes, then you can lock it out so guests don't have access to it, and maybe even users can't. You might create a different user group for that. You can also choose whether or not you want guests and users to be able to delete protected jobs without entering the password. So if it's something that's protected, they can potentially delete it without ever having known what it is. That's not usually something you want guests to do, so you may want to lock that out from the guest access. And the last thing is the ability to view other specific users, jobs, and folders. So now this is if you authenticate, you would only be able to see your folder available. So right now I've got this set up where it's off. So as a guest, I can log in and you see that I see this SchoonMJ folder, right? And that's available to me to log into and browse through. If I turn this on, if I go ahead and click apply to this setting, then what's going to happen is that as a guest, I'm not going to see any folders that are not broadly used or not widely used. And if I have it set for authenticated users also, by the way, then only the folder that I have access to see will be available. Now, if you use the setting I told you on the other page, which is to take them immediately to their folder, this is kind of null and void. So here, I'm going to do the snapshot here. So I turn that setting on, and now I'm a guest, and now watch what happens when I refresh this image. Boom, it goes away because I no longer have the ability to see and browse to other users' files. So those are some of the options you can do to increase security and enhance your use of job storage on HP devices.